About 6 months ago, I would read a book a week. I saw a lot of these entrepreneurial people online, and I would think, okay, they're reading a book a week, they're reading a book a day. I should do that. If I want to be successful and I want to actually build something in myself, I should be reading a book a week too, right? That makes sense. I should be doing that. So that's what I started doing. I bought probably 100 books, and I just started reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, and I read a ton of books. But very recently, within like a month or so, I completely stopped doing this. I still read, but I probably read maybe a book every 2 months, and I'm just reading that over the course of the 2 months. So why would I not read a book a week? What is the reason for not doing that? It feels like it should be something that I should be doing. Like, I'm learning a lot, I'm doing a lot of good stuff, but why should you not do that? I believe that this comes down to two main things. The first thing is that when you are reading so much books, your retention rates are like 5%. What this means is if you read a 100-page book, you're only really remembering 5 of those pages, right? And that's just not very significant. If you really want to gain a lot of value from this, a lot of value from reading, a lot of value from reading all these self-help books, don't just try to read them as fast as you can. There's an entrepreneur that I really like called Naval something last name. And he has a really good philosophy on this, I think. What he does is he just picks different books that he really finds interesting, and then he'll just read a chapter of it. He'll read a chapter of it, and then he'll scan over it, and he'll keep doing this. And he does this for not many books. I think that this is such a good philosophy to have when it comes to reading books, is because it's much better to read 20 of the best books 100 times than to read 2,000 books once. And this is because, like I said before, your retention rates are essentially zero. Like, you don't remember what you read. Like, I remember, like, sometimes I'll just look back at the books that I've read and I'm just confused almost. I don't even remember what that book was about. And it's because I'm just reading and reading and reading and reading, and I don't have good retention on it because I'm just reading so fast and I'm skipping over things, and I'm not highlighting things, and I'm not like taking notes on the book, and I'm not like trying to implement what it says in the book into my real life. And that's one reason that I think reading a book a week is very bad to do, because you are not remembering what this book is. And this kind of brings me into my second point, which is reading a book a week is going to take up a lot of your time. If you're reading, if you're reading a 700-page book, which is not super common, I'll just use it for the sake of easy math, but that means you have to read 100 pages a day, right? That is not a small amount. And let's say, for example, you take a minute to read a minute to read a page. That means you're going to take 100 minutes out of your day just to read this book, and you're probably not even going to remember much of it, right? You might remember 5 minutes of what you read. So wouldn't it be better to just spend 5 minutes reading that book instead of 100 minutes, and then completely remember those 5 minutes, than to read 100 minutes and maybe remember 7 minutes? I think this is my one of the big reasons I did it, is because it does take up a lot of time. It is taking up a lot of time, and you should probably be taking action instead of that time. This does not mean that I don't think reading is good. I think everyone should be reading, but I think you shouldn't be just reading for the sake of reading. You'll see a lot of these people who post that, oh, look at me, I'm reading 52 books a year. Look at me, I have this big stack of books that I'm reading this month. And it's like, you're realistically not going to remember any of that. And it's just a waste of time to be reading that much. It would be better to read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 100 times than to read 100 books on how to win friends and influence people. Not the obvious book, but, social interaction, like 100 different books, than it would be to just read one book 100 times. This is kind of the philosophy I bring. So what I'll do is, for example, I'll just keep using the example of how to win friends and influence people. If I want to learn more about how to win friends and influence people, or how to, have better social interactions, I'll read that book 50 times before I read 50 books about social interaction once. This is really what I kind of think when it comes to reading books, is just try. Don't worry about finishing the book. Don't worry about, oh, I got to make sure I finish this week. I got to get on to the next book. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter if you read a book. That doesn't matter. What matters is you take away from the book, right? So instead of just trying to read as many books as you can, try to learn as much as you can. So what I would say for you, what you should do is maybe try to do what I do. Maybe read a book a month, or read a book every 2 months, or maybe read a book a week, but read the same book every single week. I think that this is a way better strategy to go about it. Maybe you can also do something where you do read the book you want to, like, read a book, right? For example, How to Win Friends and Influence People. You read that 1 week. Next week you go into a different book, then come back to How to Win Friends and Influence People, different book, come back to that book. And maybe you can kind of just keep doing that. If you really like reading a book a week, I'm not going to take that away from you. Not necessarily a bad habit. I think you just really want to be prioritizing learning over just trying to finish a book. I have a video coming up in a couple of weeks, which is going to be titled 5 books that have changed my life. So I will go over kind of what books I would suggest you read, just from my personal experience of what books I like the most and which have helped me the most. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. And as always, strive for greatness.